Okay, everybody. Good evening. Buck Risby here, Real Dose Nutrition. I'm really, really pleased to have you folks here and joining us for this very exciting and very important health coaching session with Dr. Steve Siskin. The title of tonight's session is "The Truth About Fatty Liver Disease." Welcome. I'm based in Boulder, Colorado, and my business partner, Dr. Steven Siskin, is based in New York, New York. Looks like we have everybody here. We can go ahead and get started. So without further ado, let's kick things off. So I have to open it up. Our legal team makes us do this, so I'm going to make sure I take care of the formalities first. This webinar is intended for educational purposes only. It's not a substitute for formal medical training in one of the healthcare professions, nor is it a substitute for professional medical advice. For more specific information, you may have to consult a healthcare professional. Okay? So with that part out of the way, I am your MC for tonight's training session. My name is Buck Risby, and I am the co-founder and chief content officer for Real Dose Nutrition. And I'm kind of responsible for putting together educational programs like this and being a host with Dr. Steve. But more importantly, you're here to hear from Dr. Steve. And Dr. Steven Siskin is a licensed medical physician. He is the CEO and chief medical officer for Real Dose Nutrition. He has an MD from the Baylor College of Medicine. He also earned his undergraduate from Stanford University and has a master's degree in manufacturing engineering from UCLA. So not only does he know how to help heal people, but he also knows how very, very high quality products are manufactured, and that's very important in his role here at Real Dose Nutrition. So what I'd like to do, well, first of all, I want to make sure, Steve, are you here on the line with us?
I am here.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure that all the technology is cooperating with us. So good to have you here, sir. Thank you very much for doing this. And I'll go through a couple preliminaries, and then we can get started with your session.
Great. I'm glad to be here. Thanks everyone for coming.
Thanks, Dr. Steve. So I would like to welcome everybody first and foremost by saying you've made a very wise decision to be on the call with us tonight. And in doing so, I would like to extend to you a very special gift. For those of you who remain with us for the entirety of the training, at the end of the training, I'm going to provide you a download of one of our very special Fast Start guides. It is the Anti-Inflammation Fast Start Guide, and you'll know why that's important when you go through this training session. Okay, so very, very important. I will give you a download link to that guide, which has a $19.95 value at the end of the session. Okay, so thank you again for being here. It's very, very important that you get this information, which is why I want to make sure that you're able to focus. So if I know it's very hard to do that when you're you're sitting in front of a computer watching a web training session, but I would ask you to go ahead and put your phone on vibrate now. Close out Facebook. I know how that wants to draw you in, but this is very, very important information. Close your email and stay focused on what Dr. Steve has to share with you, because I think you're really going to enjoy it, and it's going to be an eye-opener for you. So with that, without any further ado, I'm going to hand things over to my business partner, my good friend, Dr. Steve Siskin. Steve?
Okay, well, thanks, Buck, and thanks again, everybody, for coming. And let's just go straight into it. So there's a lot of really great material to cover, and I want to make sure there's enough time for everybody to ask questions at the end. So we're talking about fatty liver disease today, and we'll start off with some basics, which is, what is the liver? Most of you probably already know this. It is the second largest organ in your body. The first largest is your skin, by the way. It's located right under your right rib cage, and it weighs about 3 pounds, give or take. What does it do? More importantly, it's one of the most important functions in your body. Basically, it takes what you eat and drink and helps translate that into energy and nutrients that your body can use. That's one key function. And then, as important is, it helps remove harmful substances from your blood. So it's acting sort of as a detoxification system for your body. Your kidney also functions similarly. So basically, your liver and your kidney are basically cleansing your body on a constant basis. So obviously, two crucial functions: getting the food and calories and energy that you eat and drink into your body, and cleaning and cleansing your systems as you go along. So let's talk a little bit about this fancy acronym here, NAFLD, which stands for non-alcoholic fatty liver disease. So what is it? basically the liver has some fat in it, and what happens in fatty liver disease is there's extra fat that gets accumulated in the liver, and it's a fat that's not caused by alcohol. And what's interesting, in the old days when I was in medical school in the 80s, fatty liver disease was basically sort of equivalent of someone who drinks alcohol. So an alcohol abuser would have a fatty liver. But now today, it's actually, there's a lot more that's coming from what we'll talk about, which is lifestyle factors. So it's not necessarily alcohol related anymore. So that's why it's now this designation, non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and that's what we're going to be focusing on. So like I said, it's normal for the liver to contain some fat, give or take, but once it gets up to about 5 or 10% of the liver's weight of the fat content, then we're getting into a classification called fatty liver, and it's for fatty liver disease. It's also a fancy medical term, steatosis. Okay, so how widespread is the issue, is the problem. In our country, it's growing and growing, just like obesity is growing, diabetes is growing, fatty liver disease is also rapidly growing, and it's affecting up to 30% of the people in the United States, which is, that's just a very large number. And what's even more alarming is 1 in 10 kids now have signs of fatty liver. So we're seeing similar trends with diabetes and other health issues, but so this seems to be grouped into this sort of growing juggernaut of disease and dysfunction that's coming out of, I think, a lot of the lifestyle and dietary and cultural situations that we're presented with here in our country and around the world. So but we'll get a little bit more into that later. So let's talk a little bit about who is at risk. And this is a pretty broad spectrum, but basically if someone's overweight, if they're obese, if they have diabetes or prediabetes, which many of us are walking around, maybe not with a full diagnosis of diabetes, but certainly prediabetes, which is sort of that in-between world. High cholesterol, high triglycerides, so this is your lipid profile when you go and you get your blood cholesterol checked. These are the cholesterol and triglyceride numbers that I'm talking about that are off balance. Rapid weight loss. Actually, it's interesting because before I said you know, if you're overweight, you can have fatty liver disease. So if you would think that if you lost weight, your fatty liver disease would go away, which is actually true. But if you lose weight rapidly, that triggers another set of issues, which is high triglycerides getting released into your blood too quickly. So actually, rapid weight loss is something that can cause fatty liver disease. So we'll get to this later, but a healthy rate of weight loss is super important, and that's 1 to 2 pounds a week, which we'll get into later. Poor eating habits, another at-risk factor, and especially when it comes to poor eating habits, things like processed foods, especially sugars and sweeteners like high fructose corn syrup, which many of you have heard is causing lots of problems. Basically what that does is it's causing lipogenesis, which is a fancy word for fat, you know, basically fat genesis. It's creating fat in the body. So people have always thought, oh, well, if I eat a high-fat diet, I'm going to, you know, have more fats circulating in my body. It's actually not the case. It's these high fructose corn sugars and processed sugars that's actually getting translated or transformed into fat, and that's where we're getting into these issues of fat accumulation. Those are some risk factors. So now let's get into, and I'm trying to move through this relatively quickly, so again, so we can have some time for questions and get sort of to the good stuff, which is, I want to describe the disease, I want to describe the situation, but I really want to get to, you know, what can we do about this, and you know, what kinds of steps can we take for ourselves to you know, to address the situation. So what happens if you don't do anything about fatty liver disease? So it can actually progress, and this is, you know, in most cases, you know, the good news is in most cases people can be walking around with fatty liver disease and really not know it and not really having too many symptoms. But in some cases it can really progress to a very serious problem. So what happens when you've got too much fat accumulating in the liver is it starts to get swollen and inflamed, and it can begin the process of scarring and degeneration of the liver, which is known as cirrhosis, which is a common term many of you know. Now, cirrhosis is basically a gradual degradation and reducing of the function of the liver over time, and that can lead to things like liver cancer and liver failure. And liver failure in its most severe form can lead to death. And I just want to say something. So, I'm not here to scare people. Most people with fatty liver disease are not going to come anywhere near this, but it can progress if left untreated. And when I was a doctor, and this is the last bullet on this slide, so maybe Bucky can move to it. But when I was a doctor and going through my training, I did a rotation on the liver transplant service at UCLA Medical Center, which is one of the leading centers for liver transplants. And these were a group of patients who all had advanced liver failure because they needed a liver transplant. And these are the sickest people that I've ever seen in any aspect of medical field. So, liver failure and liver problems can really be serious and really, again, literally be life-threatening. So it's something that you have to take seriously. So let's talk a little bit about what are some of the symptoms. And like I said, most people are walking around without too many symptoms or any symptoms at all. They don't even know that they're having fatty accumulation happening in their liver. But if you do get to the stage of having symptoms, generally they're mild, and there would be things like fatigue, weakness, weight loss, loss of appetite, nausea. These are sort of general symptoms that might not necessarily be pegged to the liver or any other system. So you're starting to have these general complaints. Now, if the situation becomes more severe, where you're getting progressing into the more advanced stages of fatty liver disease, which are leading to the cirrhosis, like I was saying, and the liver failure, you're getting much more specific symptoms related to liver problems, like abdominal pain. You're getting spider-like blood vessels, which are these little, they're called spider, I forgot the name. It's like it looks like a little spider vessel on your skin, little broken blood vessels. The yellowing of the skin and the eyes, which is known as jaundice, common term. Itching, fluid buildup, and swelling of the legs and the abdomen. So you're getting fluid retention because the liver is not doing its job. And then that can actually, all of this, a mental confusion, because again, the liver is not filtering out all of the toxins, and those toxins can then go to your brain and literally cause you mental confusion. But again, these are sort of the serious ramifications of liver disease that's gone unchecked. So how do we diagnose this? How do you know you're walking around in your day-to-day life? How do you know whether you might have this diagnosis or this condition? Well, so the first thing is sort of the classic patient is someone who's generally middle-aged. So this will give you a sort of a feel of who would be more likely. It's a middle-aged person. It's someone who's overweight or obese to some degree. It's someone who has insulin resistance and blood sugar issues. So, for instance, on a blood test, you might have a high hemoglobin A1C or a high fasting blood sugar, something like that. High triglycerides, low HDL cholesterol. So the HDL is the good cholesterol, so a low amount of that would be bad. And high LDL, then LDL is the bad cholesterol, so a high amount of that would be bad. And those are all sort of tied up in something called metabolic syndrome. So that's another phrase you may have heard, but it's pretty much a syndrome consisting of everything I just listed: the obesity, the triglycerides being off, the HDL and the cholesterol being off, blood pressure issues, blood sugar issues. So this is just sort of this complex. So you can see it's starting to tie into things like diabetes. Some people call it diabesity. So and now it's getting into a liver. It's affecting the liver as well. So it's sort of this complex that's going on inside your body. And so how is it diagnosed? Well, usually what happens is someone comes into their doctor for their yearly checkup, and they'll get their yearly blood screen, which is their chemistry panel. And a few of those tests in your chemistry panel are actually testing your liver enzymes. One of them is called AST, and the other is called ALT. And you might have some high levels of liver enzymes floating around in your blood, and that's an early tick-off to the doctor that you may be having some liver issues, and fatty liver disease being high on that list. So what happens next? The doctor would say, all right, well, you've got some elevated liver enzymes, so we're going to send you off for an ultrasound to just sort of check out your liver, make sure, see what's going on in there. And so what will happen is the ultrasound will be able to detect the fatty composition of the liver. The problem, though, is that the ultrasound only works once you've got about 30% fat liver weight. And what I said before was the diagnosis comes in at 5 to 10%. So there's a wide range of people who are in the 5 to 30% range of fat liver weight where the ultrasound's not going to pick it up. So you could, the ultrasound might say it looks normal, but in fact you are walking around with fatty liver disease. Now there is a new ultrasound test out called elastography that can see fat and fibrosis more clearly. So it's something that you might want to start asking around if you wanted to get into some more detail here. Your doctor should also be checking for other potential causes of liver disease. So like I mentioned before, alcohol is a big cause, and traditionally was the sort of association between fatty liver and was alcohol related. But again, the world is changing, and obesity and diabetes have really taken over. So now it's balancing out. There are medications that people take that can also cause damage to the liver. Tamoxifen, methotrexate are two of them. So under medical care, someone should be checking and checking for these. And if your doctor isn't asking, you should be telling him. So let's get a little bit into treatment and prevention. So I've sort of I've painted somewhat of a potentially scary picture where liver failure can lead to death. I mean that's the most severe form. Now, just putting the numbers in perspective, about 30% of the people are walking around with fatty liver disease. Only 2 to 3% of those people are advancing to the advanced forms of fatty liver disease, where you're getting into cirrhosis and liver failure. So that's the good news. But what the great news is that at pretty much at almost any phase of fatty liver disease, before you're getting into the serious damage aspect of the cirrhosis, you have the ability to treat, prevent, and even reverse your fatty liver buildup. And that, I think, is amazing. And it's the same. There's other diseases, by the way, that fit into that same category, including things like diabetes. People think, oh, well, once you're diabetic forever. Well, it turns out that with diet and lifestyle changes and some other things we'll talk about, you can actually reverse these trends. And the same is true for fatty liver disease. So I think that's really really exciting news. So the first thing that you would want to think about when you want to control your fatty liver is maintaining a healthy weight. So one of the risk factors, as I stated before, is being overweight. So you want to maintain a healthy weight. And as I said before, you want to lose weight if you're overweight or obese, but you want to do it conservatively. You want to lose 1 to 2 pounds a week and not go overboard. So you have to be careful. You'll see these offers out there, you lose 30 pounds in 2 weeks, and these crazy offers on the internet, and you have to be very careful. You don't want to lose that much weight that fast because it's not healthy for you. So now we're going to sort of get into the meat, try to get into some more constructive things. What can we actually specifically do? It's great to talk about losing weight and healthy diet and lifestyle, but let's get into some more specifics here. So I'm going to go through sort of 3 steps here. Step 1 is going to be related to the diet. And then step 2, we'll talk about exercise, and step 3, we'll talk about supplementation, things that you can do to supplement, dietary supplements to help add to the basics of diet and exercise. So let's start with the basics of diet. So we're going to get, the basic premise here is you want to eat lean, whole, real, clean foods, and not eat processed, refined, what I call garbage, for lack of a better word. But this means things that you'd be including are lean proteins, nuts and seeds, vegetables. I can't say that enough. That's anti-inflammatory fruits and things like red and purple berries, things that have high polyphenol, high phytonutrient contents. These are actually known to reduce inflammation in the body. Healthy oils like omega-3s, also known to reduce the inflammatory response throughout the body. And again, we're looking at a situation where we're inflamed inside our body. We've got inflamed liver, it's swollen, it's inflamed, and we want to put foods into our body and supplements into our body and act in activities that are going to help reduce the inflammation rather than stoke those fires. No trans fats is sort of another one of those basic rules. We all know about trans fats and the effects that they can have. So that's an important part of a basic diet. Continuing on, so I'm going to talk about some things to include and some things to really stay away from. This next category is things to include. So there's actually foods that are specifically known to detoxify and support liver function. Things like garlic, onions, broccoli and cauliflower. Broccoli and cauliflower are the cruciferous vegetables that actually have what's called, I can never pronounce it right, but sulfur-based chemicals that can reduce inflammation and help detoxify and cleanse the liver. So these are things that you want to try to make sure you include in your diet. Things to avoid, next slide. So, like I said before, you want to cut out high fructose corn syrup, any processed, refined sugar, artificial sweetener. And we all sort of know this, it's everywhere now about, avoiding these kinds of foods. But some things that you need to consider is that a lot of times you don't really realize that there's these hidden sources. Where is this stuff being hidden? Salad dressings, ketchup, tomato sauce. Canned iced tea is a perfect example. Someone gets an iced tea and they think, oh, I'm having a healthy alternative to like a soda, instead of having a Coca-Cola or a Mountain Dew, I'll have an iced tea and I'm being healthy. Well, it turns out there's just as much high fructose corn syrup in an iced tea for the most part as there is in any other drink. So these are hidden sources that you wouldn't always think of. You just have to be cognizant. Soda, clearly another one, especially, all loaded with high fructose corn syrup. Another really important thing, and this could transform you just taking some of these steps, is what's called elimination. There's diets called elimination diets where you're basically taking out some of the sort of the key well-known either allergens or inflammatory ingredients. So dairy is known to be an allergenic and also inflammatory, and there's a lot of emerging research showing that. Now, some people can tolerate it fine, but if you're one of those people who can't, you may be having a hidden inflammatory response, and there's people that will literally just from cutting out dairy can reduce their inflammation inside their body and reverse these, the fatty liver disease and other conditions. Eggs is another one. Eggs are generally a great food. I eat a lot of eggs, but if you happen to have an allergy to them or you have a sensitivity, you have to be careful because it can cause this inflammatory response inside your body. And gluten is another one. Tree nuts can also be something to consider taking out. So these are things that you want to just be cognizant of. Look at taking some of those out of your diet if you have heavy reliance on those categories. Next slide are things that you could add, and these are things that you might not be as obvious to you. But cinnamon, as an example, cinnamon is well known in scientific literature to sensitize insulin, and insulin is the hormone that helps moderate your sugar response in your body. So in diabetics and pre-diabetics, insulin does not work as well. So cinnamon is actually helping to sensitize insulin to make it work better and actually help process your sugars better, which is important. Green tea is another great thing, especially those folks who want to get their caffeine. If you're willing to think about taking it as green tea rather than coffee, you're getting a lot of benefits of antioxidants and other beneficial phytonutrients that are in green tea. So those are things to think about. So that's diet. So let's talk about the next step, which is exercise. And it's easy for anybody to get up in front of an audience and say, well, we all need to exercise, and I'm just as guilty as the next person of almost never finding the time to do it. But what's really amazing is there's some great new research showing that very limited amounts of time, even as low as 7 minutes of exercise on 3 to 4 times, even like 2 or 3 times a week, can actually have very significant benefits, much more than anyone that would have ever contemplated. So there's this mentality that we have that we've got to get down to the gym or work out heavy, an hour a day or an hour and a half a day for 5 days a week. It's actually turning out that that's probably not the best thing for our body. It causes, in a lot of cases, an inflammatory response that's exacerbating this whole issue. And you want to get into a situation where you're doing sort of intense exercise, but for short bursts and short periods. It's also known as high intensity interval training, HIIT. That's something you could look up on Google and learn more about it. But there was a recent New York Times article talking about the 7-minute workout, and it's another thing you might want to Google and check out because it's really exciting stuff. And also like walking, just getting out every day. And I live in New York City, so it actually is a good. This is how I get my activity, because I'm going to pick up my kids from school and drop them off and everything, and I end up getting my 30 minutes in of walking each day pretty much just from doing that, which is great. So next topic is, so now we're getting into step 3. We've talked about diet, we've talked about exercise. Now let's talk about some supplements. So what can you do to add to your diet? Dietary supplements, things that you can add in that can help you combat your liver issues and your metabolic issues related to diabetes and obesity, things like that. So I would say, 2 big first starting steps would be a probiotic and a digestive enzyme. So probiotics are basically healthy bacteria that you're putting into your body to help balance what may be imbalanced, what's called a microbiome. And that'll be a topic we'll cover another time. But basically, our bodies are carrying around 3 to 4 pounds of bacteria, and it's about 10 times more cells than our actual human body has cells. So we actually have more cells of bacteria in us than we do of our own body. And these, in balance, they're helping actually support most of our health functions and digestion and a lot of the basic balances that we need to preserve in our body. But when they're out of balance, then we get into trouble. And so probiotics are something that can help move you back towards a balanced state with your microbiome, with the bacteria in your gut. Digestive enzymes is another thing that could be really helpful for you. These are basically enzymes that help break down the food that you eat, so it helps bring the food more easily into your body. And those are 2 things that you could think about trying. I would say also a third, sort of in this, let's call it a triumvirate of sort of basic supplements to think about for liver disease, would be omega-3s. Omega-3s are well known to help normalize the inflammatory response, and they also help bring down triglyceride levels, which is one of the causes or one of the associations with liver disease. So so those are sort of general things to look at. Then there are actually some supplements that are liver specific. In other words, they're known to act on the liver specifically, decreasing inflammation and also reducing the chance of progressing to what's called NASH. I skipped that over on the previous slide, but NASH is basically the more advanced form of the fatty liver disease. And so things like, there's two I'll tell you about. One is called milk thistle, and you may have seen this on supplements in health food stores and things like that, but this is an antioxidant and it's protective of the liver. And taken 250 to 300 milligrams BID, which is a fancy word for twice a day. That's medical speak, so please excuse me. I should have edited that out. But anyway, and then the one is called N-acetylcysteine, or NAC, N-A-C, and that is a precursor to something called glutathione. And glutathione is a very powerful, or maybe one of the most powerful antioxidant detoxifying chemicals that operate in the body, specifically in the liver. So this is supporting the glutathione metabolism, and in this case you could take 600 milligrams of it 2 to 3 times a day, or they have 900 milligrams, which would be twice a day. So those are 2 specific to the liver that you might want to think about adding to this supplement regimen. Now, getting a little fancier here on this next slide, there are specific situations that could be more customized to you. So like, for instance, if you're constipated, there's things called lipotropic factors that could support that. Again, so in association with fatty liver disease and constipation, that's something to think about or look up, explore, investigate, research. Depression, if there's depression associated with this, SAMe is an ingredient that's well known to support that. It's supporting metabolism and also has effects on depression. And then if you've got like tight muscles, along with everything else, you've also got tight muscles, it could be a sign that you've got low magnesium, and you'd want to supplement with magnesium. In fact, magnesium deficiency is widespread, and most of us should probably be on some kind of a magnesium supplement, and magnesium citrate is one that is a good one. So so next slide is important, and I just sort of outlined a whole bunch of things that you can do yourself. You can, specific dietary recommendations, exercise recommendations, supplements, things like that. But there is a place, and we have this tendency now that we all have access to the internet to say, all right, well, I can take care of myself. I can take control of my own health, and I don't need anybody. I can be my own doctor, which I think to some degree is actually true if you follow these lifestyle changes. But there is a point where there's a handoff where you have to know when to you got to know when to fold them. And, like the Kenny Rogers song, you got to know when to seek more advanced advice. And I would say that if you've made many of these dietary changes that I've suggested, you started to get some activity into your lifestyle, some exercise. You've eliminated some of these foods like the dairy and the gluten and the high fructose corn syrups. You've tried probiotics or digestive enzymes and some omega-3s, and you've had no help, and you're still in the same situation. I think that's when you really have to say, I'm going to go and consult an expert. I'm going to go and find a healthcare practitioner that can help me through these, because you may have more specific issues that someone, there's no way that I, as one person talking to a group of people, can address everyone's individuality, and that's what a healthcare practitioner is for. And what I would recommend, as I've gotten to know and look at the mainstream medical establishment, is go with what's called a functional medicine doctor. So functional medicine is a branch of medicine that's relatively new in the last 20 years, give or take. And basically what functional medicine docs do is they look at the body from a holistic, systemic perspective. They're looking at the way the body works from a systems perspective. They're not looking at, well, you have this symptom and therefore you have this diagnosis and therefore we're going to give you this treatment to try to fix your symptom. They're actually saying, no, let's go to the base, the foundation. What are the foundational systemic imbalances that are going on here, and how can we address them? And I think it's a very important distinction, and it's where medicine is going, and where it's going to really allow a physician or a healthcare practitioner to address you at a personal level, address your specific system imbalances, and get you on the right track. So there's an organization called the Institute for Functional Medicine. It's been around, again, I think for 20 years. The chairman of it is Mark Hyman, who's a well-known functional medicine doctor. You can go onto their website and you can find a local doctor in your area. You can do research on these doctors related to things like dysbiosis and leaky gut, which is back to this microbiome issue, because we'll get into this in another time. But I personally feel that the imbalances in your gut and your digestive system is the root of a lot of this evil, which is basically you have this cascade from dysbiosis, which basically means your microbiome is out of whack, your bacteria are out of whack. It's causing inflammation throughout your body, and the inflammation is what's giving us these widespread chronic disease situations like diabetes, like fatty liver disease, even extending into heart disease, cancer, Parkinson's. I mean, it's a widespread chronic disease that's taken over our country, and a lot of it is coming. It's starting in the gut, and it's starting, therefore, by what we're putting into our bodies and what we're exposing ourselves to. So that's why we spent so many slides on the diet as an important part of where to start here. So now is the time to take action. So the way I look at fatty liver disease, again, the massive majority of people do not have serious manifestations. It's still in its infancy when you're at the fatty liver stage. Your body is giving you a message. It's saying, listen, I'm your liver. I'm not able to do my job well. These are the early signs of I'm not able to take care of the business the way that I should. I'm sort of talking from the liver's standpoint. So the body's basically telling you, listen, this is a warning sign. Please do something about it. Don't put it off. Take action. Start making some of these changes. Look at your diet. Look at what you're putting into your body. Look at how you're being. What's your activity levels, your sleep levels. What are you putting? What kind of supplements are you using? And really, the beauty of all this is you can stop, and you can prevent, you can stop, and you can reverse the progression of this condition. And that, I think, is the inspiring message here. It's within your control to do something about this and really take control of your health. So, with that, I want to hand the mantle back over to my partner Buck, and
Sure.
continue with the presentation.
Thank you. Wow. Thank you, Dr. Steve. I'm always learning something new whenever I talk to you, and I know that we discussed putting together a deep dive into fatty liver disease, and I was taking copious notes and thinking about protecting my liver, thinking about my loved ones, my wife, my parents who are both still alive, thank goodness. And also thinking about what we've been doing together at Real Dose, because a lot of the focus of what we do at Real Dose is around this issue of inflammation, reducing inflammation in the body, and that leads to a number of things, including maintaining healthy weight and improved focus, mental acuity, those kinds of things. I just wanted to share a couple things that sort of led to our journey from the beginning when we started Real Dose. Was that we saw, and maybe you've heard in the news recently, a growing number of companies that were marketing products that are low quality, not backed by human science, and maybe even tainted or not contain the ingredients that they said they would contain, and using, unfortunately, unsavory business practices to promote them. And so as part of that, we felt that having a set of products that were doctor formulated, that had truly natural ingredients that were proven to work, not in animals, but in humans, and had ingredients that were sourced and delivered at dosages identical to those in the human studies. And then we took the very, very important step of making sure that every batch of our products are third-party tested for not only what's on the label is in the product, but also that they are not contaminated, don't contain any other ingredients, which is actually one of the big issues that came out. You can Google this, the Department of Justice action against a couple of companies and actually putting executives into jail as a result. It's sort of like, I know, Steve, you talked about supplementation being one component of treating and preventing and keeping your liver healthy. But people really need to think about, okay, what brand of supplements would I take for this? And we thought about this. We have a number of products that we produce at Real Dose with this idea in mind of doctor formulated, human clinical studies, ingredients at the right dose, everything third party tested. And it turns out that we have a number of products that really fit to help support getting and maintaining your liver in tip-top shape. So we as part of this training, we thought, hey, why don't we go ahead and introduce you to that concept, give you an option, and do something very special, because everyone that's on the call, and it's amazing because everyone that was on the call is still here. Thank you very much for doing that. Is put together an offer only for folks that have gone through this program. And so as part of that, we're sort of dubbing this the Real Dose Liver Support Pack, which is three key products that are part of the Real Dose lineup. The first product is our flagship product, and as part of this, we have a 90-day supply. So it's really a 90-day system of our three best-selling liver-friendly products. And the first is our flagship, which is called Weight Loss Formula Number 1. It not only facilitates your ability to lose weight at a higher rate than if you were just doing diet and exercise alone, which people do want to lose weight faster than just left to their own devices, but you want to do it safely. And as Dr. Steve mentioned, you want to, typical normal weight loss would be 1 to 2 pounds a week, and this supports that. And it does it without stimulants. So you have and the other aspect of this product is that it also helps support healthy blood sugar regulation, which is another component of having a healthy liver. The second part of this pack is one of the supplements that Dr. Steve mentioned, which is having omega-3 fatty acids in your diet. But the key here is to have enough omega-3s, which is typically in the form of omega-3 fish oil. And so what we have is a supercritical extracted, which means it's the purest, most highly concentrated omega-3s available in the natural triglyceride form, which is the natural form found in all fish. So it's the most absorbable, and it's delivered at a therapeutic dose. So you're actually getting the dose that you would need to get the benefits that you see in a number of human clinical studies, and that includes maintaining your inflammation levels at a normal level, which again, as Steve mentioned, very, very important for support of a healthy liver, both in terms of addressing an issue or just maintaining liver health in general. And then the third piece is what's called a Real Reds product. And Steve, you mentioned that eating anti-inflammatory fruits is an important component, but some fruits have more fructose than others, and we talked about how it's important to try to limit your sugar, and one type of sugar even though people say, hey, it's a healthy sugar, you really don't want to eat too much fructose. I know a lot of people, have smoothies and things like that, which unlocks the fructose, and that can be counterproductive. It can be counterproductive when it comes to weight loss. It can be counterproductive when it comes to maintaining liver health. So we have a product that we've developed that's a combination of some of the best, most potent anti-inflammatory fruits on the market, including wild blueberries and strawberries and pomegranates. And it delivers a very high ORAC value, and it's delicious. So you basically, don't have to feel guilty about having a delicious smoothie, a fruit smoothie, if you will, that doesn't have all the sugar, doesn't have all the fructose. So you can maintain, help to maintain healthy inflammatory levels without the extra sugar, without the extra calories. So that pack that we put together has each component. This is a 90-day supply or 3-bottle supply. The 90-day supply of Weight Loss Formula 1 normal price is $177. For Supercritical Omega-3 TG, it's $129 for 3 bottles. And for the Real Reds 90-day supply, it's also $179 for 3 bottles. So the total value, if you go to our website right now at realdosenutrition.com, you can buy these products at these quantities for a total price of the pack of $485. We actually don't have this pack available for sale on our website. You would just go and grab and go the individual items and get the volume discount that we offer for 90-day supplies. But that would add up to $485. So what we've decided to do as part of this training is assemble this bundle, assemble the Real Dose Liver Support Pack, and you're not going to pay $485. We're going to do something special because you're on the call today. So Dr. Steve has authorized what we're calling a coaching session special of a dramatically reduced price point from our even reduced volume pricing of $297 for the entire 90-day system. That's a savings of $188. So if as Dr. Steve said, and we're about to get to Q&A here in just a moment, as Dr. Steve said, if you want to say yes to a healthy liver, then what you can do right now as we're talking is head on over to realdose.com/liver. This is not a public link. You're the only ones that this link is being shared with because you're on this training. I'm going to put the link in the chat session as we're speaking as well, but you can dial it up on your browser as you're listening, and we're about to head to the Q&A as well. Steve, do you have any comments on the products and what's in the pack as I type this in?
Well, I think you said it really well, Buck. I mean, we're sort of attacking the liver disease. You're helping support weight loss, which may be the most important aspect of liver disease. The omega-3s are crucial for reducing inflammation in the body. And the reds are getting you a super high phytonutrient value without the fructose, just like you said. So not much to add. I'm very passionate about these products because I developed them personally and spent months and months and sometimes years on some of these things. So we could have whole separate webinars just talking about what went into these, but I think you said it pretty well.
Yeah, well, thank you, sir. I just put the link in the realdose.com/liver. And before we get to the Q&A, I thought I would share a couple of stories here. And these are people that actually agree. They used our product. They're not compensated actors or anything like that. These are real people that used our product and agreed to share their names, their full names, where they're from, and even their age in one case. So very brave. But let me just start with Vivian Griffin from Milledgeville, Georgia. And Vivian is 65 years young. She says, my friends are trying to get me to buy some smaller jeans, but I feel like, but I like the feel of my old jeans being baggy for a change. Thank you, Dr. Steve, for this high-quality product that knows what my body needs better than I do. And Russ is kind of like me. This is sort of father had been wearing the middle-age spread like I did before I lost weight, and also had a belly. And his kids were always used to seeing him with a belly. So he commented here, my kids have never seen me without a belly. Now, Dr. Steve, had mentioned that abdominal fat, which is one of the visceral fat, which is one of the danger signs for a number of health issues. Well, abdominal fat and visceral fat also is one of the warning signs of the potential for fatty liver. And so, Russ is talking about, now my belt has gone down 3 notches. I'm fitting into pants. I've not been able to wear. I'm now fitting into pants I've not been able to wear for 3 years, and that's Russ Lundberg from Utah, right next door here to Colorado. So the ability to reduce visceral fat is very, very important. It's not just about the waistline. being big and the belt not, expanding. It's really about the health and the health of your organs. In this case, we're talking about the health of your liver. A couple things that you should know about is that, people rave about us. So you see not just the testimonials, but, the people, over 200,000 fans we have on Facebook, or the fact that we have an A+ rating on the BBB, tells you that, and we have no, we're not even accredited with the BBB, but because the way we operate, this is, indicates that we've been doing this for a number of years. People love our business. They love the way they're treated. Okay. And with that, again, the domain you'd go to, realdose.com/liver. I would highly recommend that you say yes to a healthy liver. Take a look at the pack that we put together, and maybe what we can do is while folks are doing that, we can open up the lines for some Q&A. So here, what we might do, just because I don't know if people have any dogs or noise going on in the background, why don't we, if you'd like to have a question answered, go ahead and enter it into the chat window of your screen. And I will sort of moderate the chats, and also be introducing some other questions that came in via email earlier, so that we can make sure everyone gets their questions answered. The other thing that you can do, if you want to raise your hand, I see Yvonne, maybe you raised your hand. I don't know if you had a question you'd like to put in the chat window. We'll make sure we get them answered. So Steve, I'm really excited about this healthy liver pack that you've put together.
Well, me too.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's sort of people don't realize the importance of, they don't necessarily correlate healthy weight loss and weight loss at the proper rate to the impact on their organs. And many people take their organs for granted. I know I did when I was younger.
Yeah. I mean, and that's what one of the things I was saying before is, rapid weight loss actually leads to more fatty liver, which is crazy. You would think, oh, well, I'm losing weight and losing fat, but you're releasing extra triglycerides in your bloodstream, which is then accumulating in your liver and you might be thin, but you're unhealthy thin,
Carol's asking an interesting question. What about detoxifying the liver? She says, what about detox?
Right.
Thanks, Carol.
Right. So detoxification is basically, the liver is a detoxifying organ to begin with. That's its job in the body, is to detoxify the body, and it uses things like glutathione, which is an antioxidant, to do that job. So a couple of those supplements that I mentioned, the milk thistle and the N-acetylcysteine, are actually two ingredients that can help support the function of the liver. It's basically helping keep the liver healthy so it can do its job of detoxifying. And then I also mentioned on the presentation, there are foods like I think it was garlic, onions, broccoli, cauliflower. Those actually are also known detoxifiers of the liver as well. So your food choices, the supplements you put in your body, and of course a healthy an activity, healthy exercise also. And things I didn't really get into as much, but I think maybe as important or more important than everything else is, proper sleep and stress management. Those aspects of lifestyle are also detoxifying to the entire body.
That's fantastic. Would you say that I'm familiar with milk thistle? Would you say that one of the big jobs of these detoxifying ingredients is that they help to spur glutathione production? Is that what's helping with the
right. One of them, right. So N-acetylcysteine, which is also known as NAC, that's exactly what it does. N-acetylcysteine it's a precursor to glutathione.
Okay.
And so it's giving the body the fuel it needs to produce the glutathione, which then gets the job done.
Fantastic. So Carol, thank you for that question. And Cheryl is asking, will omega-3s and Weight Loss Formula 1 help me with fatty liver without the real reds? So if she were looking to just buy Weight Loss Formula and omega-3 and not take the reds product.
Yes, I mean the answer is yes. We put together a package based on all of these things that could support it. But I think if you could choose one change to reduce your risk of fatty liver, it would be maintaining a healthy weight using a healthy plan. So Weight Loss Formula is a part of that plan, but of course the right eating patterns like we've described would be, I would say that would be the first item on the list. I'm a big believer in the second item, which is the omega-3. So if I had to rank them, I'd say weight loss formula and omega-3 would be the two big superstars, because omega-3s do so many things in the body to reduce inflammation throughout the body. So yeah, you're going to get a benefit even without the real red.
Can you take weight loss Formula One as a maintenance supplement, even if you're at your target weight?
It can, yes, it definitely can, and we designed it that way as a product that's stimulant free. Mm-hmm. So most weight loss products and pills on the market all have some form of stimulant, whether it's caffeine based or something else. And this was basically, you get habituated to it and you can't get off. Once you come off of it, you get a rebound effect. That is not the case with weight loss formula, and it's safe to take over the long period.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you. And thank you for that question, Cheryl. Laura's asking, is coconut milk a problem with fatty liver?
Not as far as I'm concerned.
Okay.
Coconut milk and coconuts got, I think, a really bad rap starting in the 1950s. Mm-hmm. There's a whole long story of sort of intrigue and corporate intrigue with palm oil versus coconut oil and everything that happened, and sort of a propaganda campaign. I think coconut oil is one of those healthy fats that you should consider taking. I like to take it as part, as part of like I'll get like the coconut milk, but I make sure that it's pure coconut milk, not with all of the fillers and additives that many of the coconut milks on the shelves have. But there's one aspect of coconut milk. One of the fats in coconut oil is called MCT, which stands for medium chain triglycerides, mm-hmm. and those are really emerging to show some super health benefits for folks. So that's something I include in my diet on a regular basis.
Outstanding. I had the same reaction when you mentioned, healthy diet and exercise, and everyone kind of hears that, and maybe it falls on deaf ears because they hear that. So if there were some key things, and I think you summarized it well in terms of the types of foods that you should eat, and layering in some exercise, even if it's just walking or doing that 7-minute workout, and a 7-minute workout 3 times a week, 21 minutes total a week seems like it's something that's doable. From a lifestyle standpoint, can make a huge difference here, right?
Right, and it's hard. Who could come up with an excuse not to do at least 7 minutes, right? Yeah. It's like you could say, I don't have time to get in the car and drive to the gym for 2 hours, but come on, it's 7 minutes and it's floor in your house. But just one back on the topic of the oil thing. So I think it actually brings up an important question, because a lot of people say, well, this question of oils equals fat and fat equals bad, right?
Right. Yes.
So there's a difference between in when it comes to proteins, fats, or carbohydrates. There's good ones and there's bad ones. So there's no carbohydrates are not evil, proteins are not evil, fats are not evil. There's certain categories within each. Some are really great and some are evil. So mm-hmm. within fats, things like trans fats, some highly saturated fats, those are things that I generally will stay away from or minimize. But healthy fats, including coconut oil, MCT, MCTs from coconut oil, omega-3s, fats from nuts and seeds, these are extremely health promoting. And they're not going to be causing more fat buildup in your body. In fact, they're helping shift your metabolism into a fat burning mode. You would think, oh, well, I'm putting fats in, so I'm going to gain fat, but it's actually the opposite that happens. It's the unhealthy carbohydrates, like the processed fruits, the processed sugars, the processed mm-hmm. flours. That's what's generating this fat response, where the triglycerides and fats are the sugars being transformed, actually literally being chemically transformed into fat, and then that fat is accumulating throughout the body, and that's where you really have to be careful. With the diet, with your dietary changes.
Thank you for that. So fat is not the enemy. Obviously, it's a trans fat, avoid trans fat, but fat is not necessarily the enemy here, which is really interesting because it's counterintuitive and maybe goes against what the media has been putting out there about, not eating eggs or not eating fat if you have high cholesterol and those kinds of things.
Right. Right.
So, okay, excellent. Well, I just wanted to make sure as folks are going through here, that if you've gone you should go to the page realdose.com/liver As I mentioned, there's a special gift for you at the bottom of that page. So if you scroll down, and I mentioned I was going to make the link for our anti-inflammation fast start download. That's actually Dr. Steve's gift to you for coming tonight to the event. So you can just do a right click on that, save that to your computer, and read that at your leisure. It's a very informative PDF on how to reduce inflammation naturally. And as I mentioned, inflammation can affect a wide variety of can cause a wide variety of ailments in the body, including affecting your liver, your brain, and potentially causing you to gain weight. So there's a lot of different reasons why you would want to keep your inflammation low. It just so happens that when you go to that site and see the Healthy Liver Pack that we have available, that all 3 products are designed to help maintain healthy inflammation in the body, including Weight Loss Formula 1. So what I might do, Steve, just so that there's no confusion, is go there with as if I'm someone on the line and let them see what's at that page, and we can kind of walk through it real quick. So let me.
Yeah, and also explain about the auto ship thing, right?
Yeah, I'll do that too, because there might be a little bit of confusion there. So we, as I mentioned, this link is not public. You can't go to our website and find this link. This is just for you folks that are on this call with us. So this pricing's not public. You're welcome to go and buy our product on our website and at the standard price, at the standard volume discounts, but that you won't see this discount there. So the Liver Support Pack includes the 90-day supplies of our 3 best-selling products: Weight Loss Formula number 1, lose more than twice the weight, keep your blood sugar under control, do this safely without stimulants. And this is why as I mentioned, having a medical doctor who formulates and reviews and approves everything that we produce is very, very important. And that was a very important criteria for Dr. Steve when he formulated Weight Loss Formula 1. The supercritical omega-3 TG and maintaining your inflammation through a therapeutic, maintaining your healthy inflammation through a therapeutic dose of what is the purest omega-3 fish oil available. This is it's actually one of our most popular products is our omega-3s because it's the most concentrated, it's the purest form because it's supercritical extracted, and it has a therapeutic dose. So your liver will thank you for that. And then the Real Reds product. I don't, in the normal course of my day, I do not eat enough fruits. Anti-inflammatory fruits like berries, blueberries, strawberries, raspberries. And maybe you don't either, okay? But here is an opportunity for you to stack the deck in your favor, and that's exactly what Real Reds does. 1 scoop of Real Reds just by itself in water, or added to some other liquid if you want to, whether it's coconut water, for example, could be an idea. That is absolutely delicious, and it delivers all the anti-inflammatory benefits of those fruits without all the fructose. So what I'll do is take you. This is actually, Steve, this is your quote here. I recommend the safe reduction of excess and very dangerous abdominal fats. We talked about that with Russ's example as one of the keys to getting and keeping your liver in tip-top shape. My Liver Support Pack is the best solution for doing just that, Dr. Siskin. If you go to that checkout page, what you'll see here is the 3 items that have been added to your cart, and you'll see that there's a coupon that's been automatically applied to give you the $188 off. Okay, so that'll take you from the standard price of $485, and I apologize if the font's a little small here. That will take you from the standard price of $485 to our discounted price of $297. Now, what I would just warn you is if you try to click on the auto refill price, that will disable the coupon. And normally our auto refill price would be our best pricing, but it will disable the coupon, so it basically will increase the price for the bundle. So you can see it went up to $467. So I would just leave it at the one-time delivery price for yourself. Here we go. We got some helpful people jumping on the line here. Leave it at the one-time delivery price for all 3 options. This will give you the best price, period. No one's seeing this. No, it's not available anywhere else on our website. It will not be available anywhere else. So you have your shot at getting this kit right now at the drastically reduced price of $297. As I mentioned, your liver will thank you for that, and we really look forward to having you continue to be, if you're already a Real Dose customer, continuing to be a customer. If you're just coming on board and trying out our products, as I mentioned, You have to really think hard about who you do business with and who you're willing to take their products now and ingest their products, especially if you've seen what's happening out in the industry. We have medical doctor reviewing and approving every formula. We have NSF certified for CGMP, or the Good Manufacturing Practice facilities manufacturing products. We have the ingredients that are proven in human clinical studies to be effective, and we dose them at the same dosage as in the human studies. And then we third-party batch test every single product that we produce, every batch that we produce, to make sure that what's on the label is in the product and it's free of contamination. So I just wanted to say thank you very, very much for joining us here. If you have any questions that weren't answered on this call, what I would ask you to do is please write us. This is actually Steve. I'm sharing your email address. You can write us at drsteve@realdose.com, and we'll make sure that if your question was not answered, that you will get it answered. And Nancy, thank you, Nancy. Just said here, where's the PDF? Where's the PDF download? If you go to the bottom of the previous page, which is realdose.com/liver or realdosenutrition.com/liver, either one will get you there. You can click on the link at the very bottom, and that will get you your anti-inflammation fast start. Okay, so go to realdose.com/liver, and the link is at the very bottom right of that page, and that's the free gift that we promised to you. Okay, so wow, we hit it. I think we planned on about an hour. We just hit the hour time frame. You know what? Before you go, let me just say something, because there's some folks that are on the line, and you may not have taken us up yet on the offer. Steve, I'm gonna put something out there, and I'm doing this a little bit on the fly, but I love doing these training webinars with you, and since I head up the content, you give me a little bit of free reign to do that. Would you be okay doing a check-in call in, let's say a 30-day time frame from now for the people that take advantage of this offer, so they can kind of get latest updates on liver health, talk about and maybe open up the lines more to get their questions answered, and make sure they're having progress in.
I think that's a great idea. I would love to. The more interaction I can get with you folks, and the more that we're here to help, and anything I can do to help, I think that's a great idea, Buck. So yeah, absolutely, okay. Yes.
So if you take action right now while we're on the phone, while you hear our voice live, then I will check the timestamp on that, and we'll send a special invite. It'll be a more intimate group that will be, we'll open up the lines even for you to actually, ask a question and talk to Dr. Steve live, and get your question, even more detailed answers about not just liver health, but potentially weight loss and other topics that might be interesting to you. And we'll call it, let's call it a check-in call in 30 days time from now. That will be a special, let's call that a fast mover bonus for those that decide to move ahead on, taking charge of their health, of your health, and saying yes to a healthy liver. So I'm excited about that. Thank you, Dr. Steve, for agreeing to do that. I will make sure that everyone that takes advantage of this while we're talking will get that opportunity. So, Steve, did you want to have? It looks like that we might have a couple questions that might have come in at the last minute here. One second. Let me just make sure. Okay, no, we just had the PDF. Margaret, if you have a question, if you can put that into the chat window, I'll make sure that, because we've got quite a few folks on the line, I'll make sure that we get your question answered. Otherwise, if you want to do the more intimate check-in with Dr. Steve about 30 days from now, then I would go ahead and place your order now. Go to realdose.com/liver. Now, here's one thing that I didn't mention to you is that you're always protected at Real Dose. If for whatever reason, and many of you are already existing customers, if for whatever reason you're not happy with our products, then you can just let us know. We have a 365-day empty the bottles guarantee. So if you're not happy anytime within that 365-day window, a full year, you can just let us know, send us an email, and we'll make sure that you're refunded cheerfully. So we want to make sure, if you have any questions about, sure, I'm not sure if the Real Reds is going to taste great. Well, it does. I know that it does, but you don't know that yet. So if you have any concerns or reservations about that, feel free to go ahead and say, look, I didn't, the Real Reds, I don't like the taste of blueberries. Now, I don't know anyone that doesn't like the taste of blueberries, but maybe someone doesn't, or raspberries or strawberries. And so, just let us know and we'll make sure we take care of you. Okay. So you don't have to worry about that. That's why we have the BBB A+ rating. That's why we have 200,000 raving fans. That's why we have over 350,000 customers around the world that love our products. So, oh, here it is. Margaret, you came through. Good. One final question here. Steve, is there any diet recommendations while taking the supplements? Do we provide diet recommendations as part of taking these supplements?
Yeah, well, the answer is yes and yes. So we have what's called our Fat Loss Fast Start Guide, which is a comprehensive dietary guideline for basically a healthy eating plan. A lot of the same concepts I was presenting today. But what I would say is the products do not need to be taken only with that exact plan. And any plan or diet or health plan that we're sort of agnostic, let's put it that way. So as long as it's something that I consider healthy, like a Mediterranean diet or a DASH diet, or there's these other diets out there, and you're on that, this will work. It will work with you as well. But we do provide one as well in case you need the guidance.
Fantastic. Yeah, and I mean that is the beauty of our products. We, as you mentioned, diet agnostic, although we do include a plan, and we also provide both email, chat, and phone support. So, and we have health coaches on staff that can assist you in making sure that you're hitting your milestones, you're getting feedback that you need as you progress. And as I mentioned, if you decide to join us and become part of that liver support community, then you'll be participating in this 30-day check-in call with Dr. Steve. I imagine that's going to be a much more intimate environment than we have here, and open it up for even more questions and bring folks on the call live as well. So wow, that's going to be exciting, Steve, to hear people's voices and get more participation. So that'd be perfect.
I'm excited about that.
Okay, you're very welcome, Margaret. Well, folks, that's it. That's all we had for this evening. If do us a favor, reply to the email that you received, maybe with the latest email reminder that you received from us, and just if you had any follow-up questions, or if there's a topic that we're going to do a lot more of these. As I mentioned, I head up the content and education side of Real Dose. If there are topics that you really want to hear about that are important to you, this is something that we really enjoy doing, and we can research deeply. And we have Dr. Steve has a great network of other docs that are experts in a variety of specialties. So I don't know if you know this or not, but I mean, Steve, you and I were chatting about this. You put together a lot of research and preparing for this educational webinar, and you consulted a number of experts.
Yeah, so I mean, I took my own knowledge, but then I also spoke to my colleagues who are doing, like, in the trenches, every day, working with folks who have liver issues, and sort of took in their wisdom and sort of tried to compile this all into the presentation. So it's really exciting for me, and exciting for my colleagues, because they feel like they get to have a voice at the table too, to expressing what they like, how they help their patients. So.
We may even bring some of them on the line in a future training, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So, and one, I know you alluded to a couple times, but we do have a plan if folks are interested on a whole very informative session on microbiome. That's the watchword right now. You'll be fascinated to learn the importance of the microbiome and what the implications are for your health. So stay tuned for that. And everyone, Dr. Steve, thank you for doing this. Thank you for joining us. Everyone, thank you so much for being on the line. If you haven't had a chance, please, as you're listening to our voice, go to realdose.com/liver. Pick up your download of the anti-inflammation Fast Start Guide. You can do that. The link is at the bottom of the page. And also go ahead and take the next step. Say yes to a healthy liver. Get your Real Dose Liver Support Pack and save $188 to boot. You have nothing to lose, everything to gain from the standpoint of your health. Everyone, have a wonderful night. Steve, thanks again.
Yes, thanks everybody.
Take care.
It's been great. Thank you.